Okay. The Educator Effectiveness Committee is called to order. May I please have a roll call?
Dr. Beebe? Present. Dr. Beebe is present. Ms. Bophy? Here. Ms. Bophy is present. Ms. Bradford? Here. Ms. Bradford is present. Mr. Garvey? Mr. Garvey is not in attendance. Mr. Guillo?
Present.
Mr. Guillo is present. Ms. Hill?
Present.
Ms. Hill is present. Mr. Lee? Mr. Lee is not in attendance. Dr. Moranti?
Present.
Dr. Moranti is present. Ms. Orange Jones?
Present.
Ms. Orange Jones is present. Mr. Romer? Mr. Romer is present. Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Lakeisha McKinney? Ms. McKinney is not in attendance. You have a quorum.
Okay, great. May we have the first item, please?
Yes, the consent agenda is ready for approval, adding item 6.1.
Okay.
I'll move.
Second.
So move second. Okay. Any objections? Okay. Having none. Next item.
There's been a request to move items 6.2 through 6.4 up in this order in the agenda.
Okay. Okay, may I please have a motion?
So move.
Okay, motion, Ms. Bophy, second. Okay. By Dr. Beebe. Next, are there any, next item? No, are there any discussions on this item? Do we need to? Okay, keep moving. Okay, next item.
On page 69, item 6.2, consideration of a records review regarding the issuance of a Louisiana teaching certificate appropriate to the credentials of Ms. Trinitha Fulton.
Okay.
The recommendation is to either grant or deny.
Okay, can I please have a motion to grant or deny?
I move to grant.
Okay, is there a second to grant?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Mr. Guillo. Is there any discussion on this particular item? Okay. Okay, having none, the motion carries. Next item.
On page 96, item 6.3, consideration of a records review regarding the issuance of a Louisiana teaching certificate appropriate to the credentials of Mr. Jason McElveen. The recommendation is to grant or deny.
Okay, may I please have a motion to grant or deny?
I move to deny.
Okay, so there's a move to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a second by Ms. Bophy. Any discussion on the item?
Well, I'd just like to hear from the individual.
Okay. Is the individual?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Are there any particular questions, Ms. Hill, that you have?
No, I just want to hear him plead his case in
Okay.
regards to the situation.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Jason McKelvin. In the event, I made a statement to a student, unprofessional, and it was recorded. In the event that it went to the state, did not have an opportunity to show up to the meeting due to the birth of our second child, something that I'll never miss regardless of what the meeting is about. And since my return to the state, I've been granted a $10,000 grant through General Mills, over $20,000 worth of grants that promote wellness in the educational setting. I've been awarded Teacher of the Year. You know, whenever your mother has been a teacher for 45 years, you tend to carry on that passion.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. McElvin? Ms. Hill? No? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to deny, and there's a second. Are there any objections to this motion? Having none, the motion carries. Thank you. Next item.
On page 116, item 6.4, consideration of a request to conduct a records review regarding the issuance of a Louisiana teaching certificate appropriate to the credentials of Mr. James Taylor. The recommendation is to deny.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I'm going to make a motion to grant.
Okay, so there's a motion to grant. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion to grant and a second. Is there any board discussion on this item?
I'd like for Mr. Taylor to
Absolutely.
be able to speak, please.
Just to clarify, this is to grant a records review, not
To-
to grant the
exactly.
issuance, because policy is you shall deny the records review if the candidate fails to disclose a felony conviction on his or her application. So you are considering whether to grant the review or not.
Considering whether to grant the review. Okay. Good afternoon.
Good morning. I'd like to say, first of all, I'd like to say I'd like to acknowledge I did make a mistake. But I was unaware when I did make a mistake and I went through what is called the diversion plan. When I was told about the diversion plan, and records dismissed, that's what I was told. And this happened about...
I think you may need to sit only because the
Okay.
microphone, we can't really hear.
Okay, this happened about 9 or 10 years ago, and so I was under that understanding, but I was not trying to defraud anybody here. I truly made a mistake, and I would like to continue teaching. I have been teaching for 20-some years, and I did complete my certification after this fact. 9 years later, I did get certified. During this process, before this, I was not certified, and I was having problems passing that praxis test. And I went through the program for 3 years through the drug court program. Never failed in the drug test. I've been clean, and I've been doing a lot of mentoring. I've been an umpire for over 30 years, and I would like to continue teaching if possible.
Thank you. Can we just find out who else is at the table, just for the
this is,
record? If you can just say who you are for the record, please.
How you doing? I'm attorney Frederick Jones, and I represent James Taylor.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. Okay. Thank you. Ms. Bovee.
How long has he been working for you, sir?
I've known him for a long time, so our personal rank. He's been with me this past year.
So he taught for you this past school year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. Dr. Beebe.
Yeah, I have a question. Was a criminal background check conducted? And, you know, most districts prior to hiring, they conduct the background check. So that was not disclosed at that point?
Are you asking me or Coach Taylor?
Mr. Taylor.
Well, they didn't bring it to my attention until it was brought I think it was February or April. It was brought to my attention. I had a background check sometime was in October or November.
Yes, and generally, I'm very familiar with the process. Generally, by the time, you know, school systems will make the application to the state police, and then there is a turnaround time to get those results back. That could be the explanation there. So,
Ms. Beebe, I think part of what happened was, I don't know if you could hear when he was speaking a while ago, but he actually went to a diversion program way back when. And so it was his assumption that since he went to a diversion program, this was all had been diverted and expunged. So when he switched districts, he came from East Carroll District over to the Richmond District. That's what prompted the new background check. And since he's been in East Carroll for 18 years, it popped up within the time frame, which you're well aware of. So this is what popped up, unbeknownst to him, because his former attorney had supposedly diverted it and expunged it, and all of a sudden it just popped up.
okay, so I have a question for you, Ms. Davis. So what is our role as a board? I know you said that the action or the motion made was just to have a records review, if you will. So the next phase, if we want to grant...
If you would like to waive your own policy and grant the records review, you could technically go ahead and have it now because you have all the information in front of you, or you could do that in August. We've never issued certificates from individuals who did not disclose the criminal conviction. That since we've added that expungement question, you remember how we had some problems with that? People were confused, like Mr. Taylor, whether or not their first offender pardon or expungement was considered. But that it was a question on his form: has your record ever been expunged, or have you ever received a first offender pardon? And he checked no to that question as well. So that would be the rub.
Okay. Any further board discussion?
I have a question.
Mr. Romer.
Do you mind, so when you checked that box, are you saying that was a mistake, that you checked that box, or you were just confused?
Or the impression when I went through the diversion program that that it was going to be dismissed, that I wouldn't have to get expunged.
So you didn't think that statement applied to you
No, sir.
at that point?
No, sir.
Any other board questions, discussions? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to grant. There's a second. Are there any objections to this?
I actually have another question. I
Okay.
apologize.
Yes, Mr. Romer.
And I want to make sure we understand everything.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you have to answer this question, Shan, so somebody correct me. I'm not familiar with the type of, I think it was drug possession?
Yes,
Is that-
sir.
I mean, and that was how long ago?
2006.
2006, and I don't know what a type 2 drug is. I suppose I should know. They listed here.
You want to know?
Schedule 2.
Schedule 2. I don't know what that is. I mean, I know there are different schedules. Can you articulate what?
Cocaine.
Okay. And that was since then you've gone through drug rehabilitation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm going to just say one thing, because I've worked very closely with Coach Taylor. I actually recruited him over from the other district. If you notice in your packets, you have a letter of recommendation from our current superintendent, which is Mr. Sheldon Jones. And of course, I'm his current principal. All of us here are here for the kids. I mean, none of us, and let me promise you, none of us in Richland Parish would put this man anywhere near our kids if we didn't think he was qualified and clean and would do what had to be done. The whole purpose of this board in Act 1 was to empower the local representatives to run our districts and run our schools. And I've got 3 kids of my own, and my kids are around him all the time. I wouldn't put my kids around this man if he was a detriment. So I'm just telling you, I give my personal testimony. This is a good man, and he'll do a great job. We need him in Richland Parish.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Bovee.
Okay, Madam Chairman, am I in order to make a substitute motion to grant certification at this point?
Oh, interesting.
I mean, grant the,
Yes, you are. But I just think, Ms. Bovee, do you want to say something first before that? Okay. Would you like to? Yes.
yes.
Okay. Substitute motion to grant certification today. Is there a second to that? Okay. Ms. Bradford. So we're going to go ahead and take board comment.
I want to thank you. I'm sorry, Principal, I missed your name, but I want to thank you for being here because this is really difficult for us to do when we're just looking at documents, right? So this is very tough. So I guess my question for you, you speak to his character and the fact that this is a teacher that supports your own students, your own children you'd want to be around. Can you talk to us about what kinds of things he can bring to your school and opportunities for your kids if you wouldn't have him? So if we were to make a decision and he wouldn't have his certification anymore, what would kids miss? Or if we make a decision and grant the certification, what will the kids get that they wouldn't get without him?
Sure. First and foremost, I will tell you, being a man of Christ myself, he's a man of Christ. I can tell you that. He's a positive role model. He's a fantastic teacher. I know sometimes we hear the word coach and we think, it's not a teacher, but I'm just telling you, this is the man who puts teaching first and his coaching second. He teaches math for us. Our math scores jumped. He took the worst of our worst, and our math scores jumped tremendously. Now, those of you who know Richland Parish or Rayville Junior, we are a very high poverty district. My school is about 98.9% free and reduced. And he is a strong male role model at our school that our children desperately need. That would be a huge advocate for our children.
Madam Chair.
Am I also correct in saying that the superintendent wrote a letter on your behalf in support of this? And would it be correct in saying that your involvement, because of the situation you've been through, that you would even potentially be able to influence? Are you involved in the drug education of your students? Active in that?
Okay. He's also part of our mentor program as well. He mentors our young children as well.
Ms. Bradford.
So I don't mean to belabor this point, but I am looking again at your professional conduct form where you said that you made a mistake in checking it. And it was very clear that it said are expunged. So I guess I would like a little further explanation on that instance.
Yes, you may.
In regards to the,
Microphone.
You just have to get closer to the microphone so we can hear you.
I'm sorry. In regards to dismissal, the diversion program, he thought it was dismissed, so he actually never had expunged. So in regards to the form is actually correct because he did not have it expunged until after this went on.
Okay.
So at that moment, it was not because he thought it was going to be dismissed because of the diversion program.
Ms. Bradford.
So, Madam Chair, one
Yes.
thing to Ms. Davis, I think we found one other verbiage that needs to go on this form, which is dismissal. If we want to have, you know, just.
diverted.
Well, diverted might be okay, but I just know we need
Part of
to
the
be sure.
diversion program. Gotcha.
Okay, so there's a substitute motion, and then there's a second for the substitute motion to grant certification today. Are there any objections to that substitute motion?
Abstain.
Okay, there's an abstention.
I have another comment, and it's just that I don't understand what the diversion program is, and I think that there's probably a difference between diversion and dismissal, and those things, one, we have to make sure that it's clear on the form and the right meaning is getting what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and still take the substitute motion. So are there any objections to the substitute motion? There's one abstention. Okay, having none, the motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations. Next item.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We're now returning to the regular order.
Okay.
On page 5, item 3.1, consideration of St. Bernard Parish Public School Board's Practitioner Teacher Program, alternate path to certification.
Okay.
The recommendation is to approve.
Okay.
I move.
Okay, Dr. Beebe, there's a
I
motion.
second.
Second by Ms. Hill. Board discussion on this item. Okay, page 5. Okay, Dr. Beebe.
Okay, I just want to say that I've had the opportunity to review the proposal, excuse me, submitted by staff in St. Bernard Parish School System, and I do recognize the challenges that we face as school districts, particularly, you know, with accountability in place. And normally, I would have reservations about supporting, but there, as I understand it, there is an existing policy that grants other providers an opportunity to utilize the alternative path to certification. And again, upon review of this proposal, it's extremely defined to the point that if the teachers will be provided support and assistance, and in the event that their rating is less than proficient, they would have to repeat the coursework and the support in place. Again, I commend the leadership in St. Bernard Parish for providing an opportunity for teachers to utilize the alternative path to certification. And you know, I did speak to Superintendent Voce, and she said her intent is not to compete with colleges or universities, but rather to address a pressing need in her district. And so with that said, I support the proposal.
Okay, thank you. Any other board discussion before? Okay, we have a few public comment. Danny Garrett is just on the record in support, but does not wish to speak. Ms. Doris Bouchier. Please come back.
Actually, unless anyone has any detailed questions, it seems to be overwhelming. I mean, I'll be happy to answer anything that you may wish to ask, and I would thank you for supporting this proposal.
Ms. Bovee.
Well, since you're here in front of us, I just have to say how impressed I was when I was reviewing the Compass report and the value-added scores of your teachers. So that makes me feel really good about your ability to support people in experiencing success. I've had an opportunity to ask one of your teachers what the secrets were, and it didn't sound like any secrets. It sounded like really good decisions that have been executed well. So congratulations on that, and I look forward to seeing you guys have success with preparing future teachers as well.
Thank you, Ms. Bofi. And I'm glad you brought that up because we are very proud of our teachers and the support system that we do have in place. And in that last round, that we were the district who scored highest in the highly effective and proficient range in the band scores. And we did that too. And being one of the, a top-rated school district, we're doing that with an 80% free and reduced lunch rate within our system.
Mm-hmm.
Where 80% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. So we have an 80% at-risk population for our kids, and we're able to, get the test scores and the exam scores with that type of population.
So very important. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Bradford.
I just want to thank you for such a thorough PT. This was very interesting reading and very well done.
Thank you. We think it's going to be a really good individualized program with tremendous support by the mentors and the instructional coaches, and with that ongoing weekly, bi-weekly, and daily support that we've described, I think our teachers will come out with highly effective grades.
And our children will be the winners.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next comment, Lee Barrios.
Lee Barrios, retired teacher, St. Tammany. I felt like it was very important for me to speak to this because the profession of teaching and maintaining the professionalism of teaching is very important to me. And I haven't had a chance to study thoroughly this plan, but I have studied it somewhat. I'm familiar with Superintendent Wojciech and have high respect for her and the work that she does. I think actually what this represents is what should be a model for teaching and education nationally. And number one, that's a bottom up as opposed to a top down situation where you actually have the people in the classroom, those that are trained and experts in the profession. Also, I'm not a fan of alternative certification, but that's because there are too many alternative certification programs out there, and I'm very familiar with them, that do not do the job that they were intended to do. I know when I began teaching, I had my undergraduate degree, but there was an opening in gifted. I had to get a T certificate. In order to do that, I had to get my master's degree and special education courses, which I had to do while I was teaching, and it was extremely difficult. We lack a strong mentorship program in this state. It is so important. We had the National Board Certification Department in the Department of Ed. It's disappeared. That's too bad, because that's what that organization did, was provide strong mentorship and leadership for teachers in the classroom. So I hope that this is really the beginning of a strong mentorship and a strong model for our teachers, because the sad fact is that we're losing a lot of teachers. We're not getting a lot of new teachers. They are subjected to too many problematic pedagogy, and of course, you know, I'm against Common Core standards, what it represents. So I hope that this is a model, and that also this model is open. It opens itself to change from a local perspective, as opposed to waiting from and having to being made to go through change from a top-down process. So I appreciate what Superintendent Wojciech is doing, and I hope these things are funded properly.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. There's a motion and a second. Mr. Lee?
I support this recommendation primarily because I know Ms. Wojciech, and I know what a competent, capable, responsible superintendent she is. And she's going to make certain that this program has quality. Where I do have a little concern, when we approve this one, we're setting ourselves up for approval from any other school system. And if we're not careful, it could lead toward having not a statewide system of responsibility and accountability. And I think some way or the other we need to recognize that there's going to be a need for statewide accountability. And I'm not sure, as we move in this direction, who's going to monitor it? Who's going to make sure that the standards are maintained statewide?
Thank you, Dr. Beebe.
And Mr. Lee, I certainly, as I started the conversation earlier, I said, you know, I do have reservations because while there is a great need for teacher candidates and putting them through the certification process, Superintendent Voce, as Ms. Lee Barrios pointed out, it should serve as a model. And the point to be made here with this particular item is that there are already alternative certification programs in place, and this is a means for St. Bernard to supervise and monitor the process. Also, as I pointed out in my conversation with her, and it may be in the report, she is not out to compete with colleges or universities. She's out to meet the needs of her district. And I think it's time for our university personnel, the deans of the colleges of education, they need to come to school districts to see what our needs are and to establish a partnership with us so that we can make this work, because we need certified teachers in classrooms.
That's great. Ms. Bovee, do you want to say anything?
Just that I completely agree with Dr. Beebe.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, there's a motion, there's a second. Are there any objections to this motion? Okay, having none, the motion carries. Congratulations. Next item.
On page 51, item 3.2, consideration of a one-year renewal of the Louisiana State University Pilot Alternate Teacher Preparation Program. The recommendation is to approve.
I move approval.
Okay, Dr. Moranti, there's a motion, and Mr. Guillot, there's a second. Are there any discussions on this particular item? Having none. Oh, wait, Dr.
Well, I just wanted to ask, I think this is a great process. Is this the first time that we're implementing, or I thought we had this process in place already? Is
This program? You mean, Dr.
The process. Is it a new process? I thought this was the criteria, or I guess the different, what the program
We're on
process.
3.2, Dr. Beebe. We're on item 3.2.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself.
That's okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we do have some public discussion if there's no board comment. Frank Newbrander? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Newbrander. I'm the project director of the CARD program, the Central Louisiana Academic Residency for Teachers. So I'm here if you have any questions, to answer any questions you should have about the program.
Okay. Thank you. I don't think there. Thank you. Next comment, Brenda Nixon. Yes.
Hello and good afternoon. Thank you all for allowing us to speak.
Can you move the microphone closer to you?
Thank you all for allowing us to speak on behalf of CART. Bolton High School, of which I'm principal, is a residency site for CART.
Could you speak into the microphone?
Can you speak? Can you just move the whole thing closer to you? Okay.
Bolton High School is a residency site for CART. We host the CART residents, where they are assigned a mentor, a veteran teacher, under which they receive tutelage and guidance for a full school year. Some of what the residency component offers is a full immersion for a school year. So the first school year or first school day for a teacher is not their first full day of responsibility. So having that immersion experience for an entire year allows that teacher or teacher candidate to work alongside a teacher in planning and executing curriculum. It allows them to experience school culture, leadership, and classroom management, which leadership, school culture, and classroom management are 3 of the leading indicators for attrition. And as I said, when you get to work under another teacher or with another teacher and a team of teachers in a school for an entire year, that certainly builds knowledge base, but also confidence in our teachers to be able to handle that. They are able to see these teachers model responses to different types of leadership, to different types of students, to troubleshoot issues that arise on a day-to-day basis that many teacher preparation programs lack because of the real-time experience. Also, we are an urban school, and our population is majority low socioeconomic. So again, that is another indicator that leads to attrition for first-year teachers. So first-year teachers are able to come into Bolton High School, or teacher candidates, and work with these teachers, see the success that we have with low socioeconomic students, and then have a good feeling, a positive experience about it, and assume the challenges that come along with that. So we are very pleased to say that not only have we retained some of these teachers, but we've also been able to be a part of an expansion and send these teachers out, these teacher candidates out into rural areas that don't have access to veteran mentors of AP programs or rigorous curriculum.
Thank you. Kim Bennett.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Kim Bennett, the Deputy Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction for Rapides Parish and former principal of Tioga High School that also had 4 recipients from the CART program. And just here to say that this program certainly fulfills a need in our parish as well in our various schools. The thing that probably is one of the most beneficial is what we just spoke about earlier, is the continual mentoring of these candidates. And it's a very strong mentoring program that is provided through the CART program. With this, the teachers having a year of residency working one-on-one with teachers in school systems, as well as their continued education and professional development that they receive through the CART program is extremely valuable. I'd also like to report that these teachers have been very successful in the classroom in the areas of math, which we all know is a high need in our state. And I can speak of the teachers at Tioga High School. One is a geometry teacher and teaching again, at-risk students, not the advanced student, and he is reporting 70% proficiency on the geometry EOC, which is extremely high for those caliber of students. Another teacher at Tioga High School is an algebra teacher. Again, another high need area, and her proficiency rate is around 60%. Again, at-risk students. The recipient that they're working with right now will be moving into our AP Biology 2 classroom. And so again, it's serving a need in our parish as well as the various schools, and is producing extremely educated, knowledgeable, strong professionals. So we hope you support this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Marjorie Taylor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm with the Orchard Foundation. We're part of a larger foundation in Central Louisiana, the Rapides Foundation. We're the Education Action Arm, which services a 9-parish region in Central Louisiana. And as you just heard from our district representatives, this program has been of tremendous benefit to Rapides Parish. But I also want to stress that this has been of tremendous benefit to our entire region. All 9 of our parishes have benefited from the fact that we have grown 36 high school math and science teachers through this program, and so we hope that we will be able to continue this for another year so that we can further incur those benefits. We've had a retention rate of the teachers that have gone through the program of 91.6%. So thank you.
Misty Slater.
Sure.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay. K. Knotts.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am the field coordinator with the CART program. That means I talk to the superintendents and the principals and the residents and the mentors, and I get to see a lot of our Central Louisiana. This is a wonderful program. It is. The reason we're asking to extend is because it has been successful and because some of our principals said, oh, come on, can't you just get me one more? And so you need to know that. You need to know that it's wanted by the people that we serve. And those are the people I'm in contact with. And we are bringing some teachers into the field that we would not have brought otherwise. And they're good. So that's about all I have to say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lee Barrios. Okay, thank you. That concludes public comment. There's a motion and a second. Are there any comments, additional comments? Mr. Gio, then Mr. Lee.
Yeah, just real quick. I'm just curious what the, I mean, it sounds like a wonderful program, what the average investment is per teacher that's being trained under this. Do we have a feel for that?
I don't have the figure offhand. I'm sure we could get it, though, Mr. Gio.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Okay, Mr. Lee.
Maybe.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
If I can answer it. So the project was supported by U.S. Department of Education grant at the tune of $6.2 million. And the Orchard and the Rapides Foundation, together with the school systems, have come up with a $5.2 million match. So the average cost per teacher to get them a master's degree from LSU, to get them certification, to pay for their assistantship for 15 months, is about $49,000 to $50,000 per teacher, which includes all the tuition, the fees, the salary if you want, the credit assistantship for the year. Cost per teacher is $50,000.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lee.
Thank you.
The Rapides Foundation and the Orchard Foundation are the strongest supporters in the state of Louisiana to help public school systems. They've been doing a tremendous job. And I think this is just another example of that, the support that they give to school systems that really cannot provide those services for themselves. As good as they are and as much of a quality job they do, they just have one serious weakness that is not that important anymore now that I have retired. But I was next door neighbor to Rapides in DeSoto, and they would not let me in. And I never did understand that. So but I really appreciate the job that they do.
Great, thank you. Any other board discussion? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Are there any objections to this motion? Having none, the motion carries. Next item.
On page 53, consideration of the 2015 Teacher and Principal of the Year selection process and the provision of monetary awards from Dream Teachers. The recommendation is to approve.
And Ms. Hill, motion second. I need a second. Ms. Bradford, okay. Any discussion?
I was
Dr.
just,
Beebe?
in fact, I was out of order a few minutes ago. But this, so in other words, wasn't this process used in the past? Is this a new recommendation?
It's very similar. You're right, and we're bringing it to you for your consideration as is required. But this is a similar process to what's been used in the past. And I want to take this opportunity not just to thank our team, but also Dream Teachers, which has been so involved in this whole process and is a fantastic organization.
Thank you. Are there any other board comments? Okay. Are there any objections to the motion? Okay. The motion carries. Next item. Oh wait, there is one public comment. I apologize. Ms. Jossie Fernberg. Janie.
My name's Jamie Fernberg. I am the chairman of Dream Teachers. For the past 8 years, we have partnered with the Department of Education and your board to recognize Louisiana's outstanding educators. We appreciate your support, your help with your staff. This year, our symposium will be on July 12th. That's a Saturday. I'd like to invite each and every one of you to come out. Mr. Lee, I expect to see you there. I think you've been to all 8. Holly, I know you've been. At the symposium, we'll have a great speaker, Ron Clark, very motivational. And then in the evening, we'll have a banquet where we recognize these teachers, and the top teachers and top principals will get cash awards, and the Louisiana State Teacher of the Year will drive off in a Mercedes-Benz that they'll get to use for a year. I know one of your board members has had that opportunity to drive that car, and I know you had a good time in it. Anyway, I'd like to invite all of you to come out and enjoy this celebration and recognize our outstanding educators, and I appreciate all the support that we get from BESE and the Department of Education.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Okay.
Dream teachers really do a good job with this program.
It's great. Okay, we had a motion and we already passed it, so we're going to keep moving. Next item.
On page 55, item 5.1, consideration of revisions to Bulletin 746, Louisiana Standards for State Certification of School Personnel regarding endorsements to existing teacher certificates. And this recommendation is to improve as a notice of intent.
Okay, can I just...
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion. There's a second. Great. Any board discussion? Ms. Bradford? Oh, there's a second already. Okay. Any board discussion on this item?
I want to make a comment.
Mr. Lee? Yep. Ms. Yes, go ahead.
I am in support of this recommendation, but again, I think we need to be a bit careful, and I notice this says here that providers that are approved will also be monitored for quality in accordance with Bulletin 996. Much of this is going to depend on the quality of the monitoring, and I'm a little unsure about how well it's going to be monitored. I also would think that the standards probably should apply to everybody. I don't think we just need statewide standards.
Yep. Dr. Beebe.
Okay, and I want to make reference to the April board meeting, and we approved Louisiana Believe and Prepare grants, and at that point in time, Superintendent White, I asked you specifically, would there be a need for a policy change? And if I recalled, you just brushed it aside and said no. Your response was no. But I want to go ahead and just speak to my concerns. You know, this is a policy proposal, and I represent Lafourche Parish, and you know, I just take exception that in the selling point that we emphasize Lafourche Parish. I know Lafourche Parish will be impacted, and I will not debate anyone. There is a critical teacher shortage. I attribute to the hastily implemented education reform initiatives. I know, speaking to personal experience, I have a shortage of 20 to 20, or I have vacancies for 20, 25 teachers. And where do we get them? I have been saying in my earlier presentation, you know, we need to have conversations with universities, the deans of colleges of education. We need to be working together to prepare our teachers to ensure that the quality is in place. I had the pleasure of speaking both to Superintendent of Lafourche Parish and the personnel supervisor. I can appreciate their concerns, and that they have communicated that they're filling positions with non-certified personnel because the individuals don't exist, the applicants don't exist. So at least I commend them for taking the initiative to think outside of the box and to try to do something to address their needs, just as Superintendent Boche indicated and appealed to the board to approve her proposal or her program. The difference here is, as it related to the previous discussion we had, that policy is already in place. This is a request to approve a policy that will allow non-education or non-university providers to implement those programs that will address their certification needs. All I can say at this point, I have mixed emotions, and I'm going to have to listen to the debate, the conversations. I would hope that we have some deans in the building today that would communicate their concerns. I also know that in my conversation with Personnel Supervisor Dr. Voron, he indicated that he will be working through Nichols University. But at the same time, how can we be assured that we will have quality processes in place? You know, we just don't need hit and miss programs implemented, and I'm not suggesting that would occur in Lafourche, but this is opening the door. And so I just wanted to make this point known, and I'm certainly I welcome individuals to come to the table to speak either in support or against, because I'm straddling the fence.
Okay.
I know firsthand as a superintendent my challenges, and our first responsibility is to that we have quality people in the classroom.
Superintendent.
First of all, I thank you, Dr. Beebe. You're exactly right. Members, just to bring this back, this is not a policy to approve Lafourche or anyone else to do anything. I want to be clear about that. It is a policy that would allow you to consider whether they should. And Dr. Beebe, you said this. In other words, right now there's a policy against there ever being a program that offers an endorsement that is not a university provider. This says there can be such a program, but it would have to be approved by BESE. And why is that important? I don't want to speak for my colleagues from Lafourche, but I can maybe give some hint of this, and many of you know this. Let's just take English language, teachers of students with English language learning needs. If you are in an area, and I don't want to speak for you, but like South Lafourche, right? For those of us who have been there, you know this is a far, far drive from where we sit here today. It's also, by the way, not that close to Nichols. It's far from Nichols. Even though that's within Lafourche Parish, it's still far. Meaning you basically got one university near you, and what if they don't offer a program in English language learners? Right? What if that's not an endorsement that they offer? Well, what do? You got to get those kids down there. You got to serve them. They're asking, and we're asking you to not open the door so much, because you're still the doorkeeper here. You still mind the door. But we are asking you for the possibility of there being a door. And in situations like this, to consider someday approving such programs if it were appropriate. If you're not considering a specific program today, you're simply changing the policy to allow someone to bring an application. I appreciate my colleagues from Lafourche being here as well, but this is not a consideration of a proposal from them or anyone else today.
Okay, thank you. We do have a couple of public comment cards.
Oh, Kira, I have a question.
Okay, Ms. Hill.
Manager. Superintendent White, is it possible that, because currently, when I read the policy and the changes, I have reservations in regards for this applying statewide. That's first and foremost. I understand that they have a critical shortage, and the Nichols State University said that they can't supply those teachers for them. I understand that. But then you have other parishes that have numerous universities surrounding their area. For example, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, you have major universities that can't produce those type of teachers. So, however, my concern would be if we approve this policy as a board perspective, we are opening the door statewide. That's my number one concern. Number two, if this just applied to Lafourche, let's just apply to Lafourche and only Lafourche. Why do we need to open the door to have it a statewide policy? Because my concern will be those universities like Xavier University, University of New Orleans, Tulane, that have education departments. And what if these districts say, you know what, let us do our own thing like Lafourche And then what would be the purpose of the Department of Education within those universities when they can go and privatize? So that's my concern.
Well, right now it's not statewide because no one is approved to do it. In fact, today you're not approving anyone to do it. All you're doing is creating the potential if they needed to. Correct. And the reason to do that is that, let's say we pass this policy today, Lafourche may realize, this is something that we think we should do, something we have to do. If you don't pass this policy, then there's no use in them spending their time doing it because there isn't even a policy that allows them to consider it. However, look, if they submit a proposal, or if someone here in Baton Rouge submits a proposal, you are under no obligation, of course, to say yes to the proposal. You still have the decision about which programs exist. It's just that today you're at least giving them a signal. If you want to think about it, think about bringing us something, you can.
All right. Mr. Louis Voiron.
Louis Voiron, Personnel Supervisor of Lafourche Parish. Superintendent Matthews emailed each one of you a letter last week in support of this particular policy revision. She apologized for being unable to be here today, but she is out of state. In our district, just to kind of provide a little backdrop on our involvement with this policy revision, when the Believe and Prepare grant was initially put out for school districts to apply, we immediately contacted Dr. Leslie Jones, Dean of the College of Education at Nichols, and began discussions on creating a new partnership in a new track of an innovative way for teachers to get certified that ensured quality of instruction and also would meet the needs in Lafourche Parish. At the time, our greatest need was in special education, both for mild, moderate, and significant disabilities. At the time, we had 12 vacancies, and we envisioned that we would take teachers from the new student teacher pool and have them enrolled in a practicum basically for a full calendar year from June to June, and basically work to get an add-on endorsement. Nichols State does not have an approved program for initial certification in significant disabilities, and they don't have one in alt certification because we envision the possibility we may have to do alt certification as well. At the time, we were preparing for all scenarios, and one of those scenarios would have been to be a private provider, which we would have applied in that event today, just like Ms. Vautier did from St. Bernard, and then ask for the ability to provide add-on endorsements. Through our grant proposal and awarding of the grant, we work very closely with the certification division, Ms. Barbara Burke, here at the department, and in discussions we realized Nichols was working with us to provide coursework, so we were able to get the add-on endorsement with the transcript hours. Nichols and Lafourche Parish have an extremely unique collaboration, and we work very well together, and they were able to offer the courses for the transcript hours, the 21 hours for significant disabilities, to be recognized by the Department of Education Certification Division. The need for this project and this program is not necessary for this revision today. However, in our discussions, we have vacancies for 2 years in school librarian. We have vacancies for 2 years in art. We have vacancies for 3 years in teacher of talented students, teacher of gifted students. We have an agriculture vacancy that we're having a tremendous difficult time filling, and ELL is another area, and we anticipate a major problem filling APE in the very near future. In our district, we're thinking forward. We're anticipating the challenges of tomorrow, and we anticipate being able to fulfill these needs, but still working with the university to be a private provider and have the add-on endorsement.
Thank you very much. It's Candice Watsey.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Candice Watsey, and I just finished my 36th year as a school teacher, 20 years of which were in St. Tammany Parish. I spoke about this in April at the BESE meeting, and I would like to say again that as a long-term teacher, there is no substitute for training. When I decided to become a teacher, I graduated from LSU. I moved to New Orleans. I enrolled at the University of New Orleans in order to get my certification because I wanted to teach in New Orleans. And having gone to high school in New Iberia, Louisiana, and junior high out in the San Francisco Bay Area, I didn't know New Orleans. But I knew that I wanted to try teaching there. And so I moved, and I made that decision to go there and get my training. I understand there are teacher shortages right now. Given the climate that public school teachers have endured since 2012 in Louisiana, it should be no shock to anybody that it takes a very directed individual to join this profession. The St. Bernard program sounds wonderful. You know, that's an apprenticeship where people are working closely underneath mentors who are in the field. But if we open the door where we're suddenly allowing non-university-based providers to do these endorsements, who are these folks? What is their background? I don't want to see my profession further watered down. I think that it is too important to be trained in the field by people that are, to use the term, highly qualified or highly effective. So I just think we should move with caution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lee Barrios.
Lee Barrios, St. Tammany. Also want to make some points that I'd like you to consider. The difference between a program like Superintendent Voitier has proposed and has been approved for, and this program is, for one thing, the accountability is very different. You can say that these programs will be held accountable, but there's nothing greater than the accountability that a teacher has to a parent of a child in her classroom, that teacher has to the school system by virtue of that parent's oversight, the school board, and then the district administration. And that district is held accountable because it has to perform now, particularly under the conditions that we're under. That's very different from an organization that may come from out of, and probably will, come from out of state or be online, where you can say it has accountability, it will have oversight, but there really is no true accountability there. I have a problem, too, with, according to the bulletin, I believe it's 996, it says that the Department of Ed will have final approval of authority. And to me, we're placing the Department of Ed, which does not have the expertise to be certifying teachers, we're replacing our university systems. That's their job. And I agree with Dr. Beebe, or Carolyn, excuse me, Ms. Hill, that we're going to be supplanting some of these university programs, and I don't like that. And I believe that's part of the intent nationally to deprofessionalize teachers. I also want to caution you that where there may be a need, say for instance, for certified special education teachers, the need is not really for the TAG certification. The need is for special education teachers who know and understand and can serve the needs of those students. That's what we need to make sure. Just having credentials is not sufficient. So bringing in programs that aren't qualified won't be sufficient. It's very much like the highly qualified tag that have been given to teachers since No Child Left Behind, but particularly that Teach for America had tagged onto in a deal with Congress, that last budget deal, where their teachers, their instructors could be deemed highly qualified as opposed to certified. So I caution you that I think this is a bad idea. I think you should be finding ways to support the increase of teachers for certification and recruiting certified teachers if that's what you're concerned with for this state. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. That concludes, Superintendent Doris Boshier.
I spoke with Superintendent Matthews from Lafourche Parish, and her proposal is really an excellent proposal, and I would be in support of that and whatever is necessary. In regard to these add-on endorsements, and I know that I've grappled with this as well as many other people. Right now, we're dealing with, in this particular setting, all certified teachers. So every person who would be applying for an add-on endorsement has already been through a certification program through a university or elsewhere, in that they've got their initial certification. So these would be teachers fully certified. Now with the add-on endorsement, right now in most cases, a teacher can add on an endorsement simply by taking that new content area of the praxis. So for example, if I'm a certified secondary math teacher and I wanted to teach biology, to add on that particular endorsement, then I would go to take the biology praxis, because I've been through all the pedagogy and I've been through all the initial certification. So this would be an add-on endorsement. There are only, to me, I think, are a few areas that just simply taking the praxis will not suffice. And these are in these hard-to-find areas that Mr. Voiron has articulated. We have a great deal of difficulty in certifying, for example, librarians. Now remember, if we're going to do an add-on endorsement for a librarian, that person's already a certified teacher, either elementary, middle, or high school. And it's very difficult to find the coursework in many of the universities that will lead toward that add-on endorsement that they can get within a reasonable amount of time, because with the cuts, and some of the universities don't offer every add-on endorsement. English as a second language, or ELL as they call it now, gifted and talented. So I think we need to consider at some point some type of a partnership if the universities are going to come to the table, so that they would then offer all the courses that are needed. We now have to say to most of our teachers, go take this course online. Go take a course with no really direct contact with any professor, and say, if you take these 3 or 4 courses online, we can go ahead then and give you an additional or an add-on library endorsement, through BESE after having taken these courses. So I'd like to get to the point where we have more direct contact. When Ms. Barrios was talking about mentoring these teachers, I'd much rather have that librarian mentored by someone who is a librarian, who's a highly qualified librarian, than taking an online course. So I'm only asking you to consider some of these alternate ways, and remember that every one of these teachers applying for an endorsement is already fully certified.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Dr. Moranti and then Ms. Smith.
I just have a few comments so that we can make the distinction between the practitioner program and the add-on endorsements that come through the university providers. Before a university can do an add-on, it must first have its initial certification, which has its full knowledge base, it's research-based, it's data-driven, taught by the experts. It's not just a matter of a course so that they could become certified in those areas. That's just one thing that I wanted to say about that. The second, though, is I'm not opposed to a policy if it is a comprehensive policy that includes the accountability system. That's a critical piece. We don't want to bypass that accountability that we hold up for our university providers with their regional accreditation, their national accreditations. This policy doesn't have the accountability piece yet. I think that once we have that accountability piece in place and see how that works, I think then maybe we can go forward with that. So I think I don't want to talk about apples and oranges when we're talking about how we have non-university providers for alternative certification, absolutely. But I think the add-on endorsements it's a completely different set of guidelines and criteria.
Okay. Ms. Smith, thank you.
Could I ask the superintendent to come, just let me ask her a couple of questions? Congratulations on being selected recently, I believe, as president of the Superintendent's Association. Good luck with that.
Thank you. I'll need it.
So why is it that we can't get the university providers to meet the needs of the local school districts with these concerns?
I think Dr. Moranti really addressed that in some way. They need that initial certification program first before they can do these add-ons. But what really, I guess, upsets me a little bit, take, for example, the library add-on certification. I was just talking with Dr. Voiron. He has to refer his candidates to an online provider, like iTeach or one of those, to get the courses that are necessary online to get that additional endorsement, because a local university is not able to offer that for whatever budget constraints they have or whatever accreditation procedures that they need to go through and what they've chosen to do. In my particular area, the public university is UNO, the University of New Orleans, which is experiencing tremendous cutbacks. In fact, they were in the news a few days ago talking about which programs they were going to have to eliminate. I would love to be able to get a more, I guess, collaborative effort with the local school districts and the universities to help design some of these programs where we can meet the needs that we have in partnership with them and in light of realizing their accreditation procedures they have to go through. So I'm all for accountability. Everybody up here is for accountability. We've been doing this for years and years and years in the 40-plus years I've been in education. So I have no problem with accountability within these programs and within these endorsements. But I think what's happening is we're not at the table collaborating and talking and making these programs work. So we're being forced to, we have the immediate need that we have to meet. And when we talk sometimes with the universities, they have needs, or they have chosen certain programs based on their financing and their needs and their accreditation. And those two have not meshed. So in the short term, with this add-on, these are fully certified teachers that we're looking to add an endorsement in difficult to find areas.
And actually the ones that will be offering the add-on endorsements are all certified?
Well, like Superintendent White said, right now no one can do it other than the university. So if the policy changed, you would have to approve, I would assume, each provider individually.
I think the thing that you said, what I was thinking, at some point there's got to be collaboration between what the school districts are needing from the universities with regard to the teacher education programs, and if we know the shortage is there, and if they know the shortage is there, there's got to be some way to deliver, or we're going to have to do something else.
And to deliver in a way that, from a time frame, that you can take a cohort of teachers through this, and not take a course and then have to wait 3 semesters before you can get the next one because it's not being offered. So there has to be that collaboration and that cohesiveness of course offerings within a reasonable time frame.
Thank you.
Superintendent.
Members, I know we're about to wrap up our discussion. I thought I might just bring it to a close. I've sat and I've listened to the discussion. I just wanted to make a couple of points, and I want to speak to the discussion that the superintendents just had. I think the dialogue between higher ed provider and school system is the essential element that is too often missing. The Believe and Prepare program, which you've approved, is just the start of this, but there are 7 pilots. St. Bernard is one. St. Bernard is the only one, and by the way, I think it's an awesome thing, but it's doing it itself. All of the others are partnerships between a previously existing provider and a school. And I believe that what Superintendent Vaucher and her team are doing and what the other 6 are doing will lead to a new way of looking at demand and supply. We have a demand in our schools that is not being met, and that's no one's fault, but we've got to find a way to solve it. This was an attempt to try to seed some ideas to bring partnerships together. This last piece of it today, it's not the most important thing. The certification is a more significant program, as Superintendent Boucher was alluding to. All we're saying is if we want to allow for the most innovation, let's give at least the alternative for people to come to you with a proposal to add endorsements to their Believe and Prepare program. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for any specific approval of one program, just the ability to consider it. I think you've taken care of the big policy. This is an add-on, and I thank you for considering it.
Okay. Great. Are there any other boards? Ms. Hill?
Yes, I guess my concern in regards to this, I did read the letter that was sent from the Board of Regents, and one of their major concerns in regards to this policy was the accountability piece. And so I think that even though there is not a representative here today to speak from the Board of Regents, but I think when we look at our universities and we look at certification and endorsement, I believe that's the job of the Board of Regents to assure that the needs are being met on a local level from a state perspective. And I know their major concern in regards to this was the accountability, which Dr. Moranti has articulated very well. And so with that being said, I can't sit here from my profession and say, hey, I know the critical need in my profession, but I also know the need of making sure that individuals are licensed and have the certification to go out and do the job to make sure that our children's needs or adult needs are being met. So, however, I think that we need to, my opinion, to refer it maybe to the accountability team to come up with an accountability process to align with what the university's requirements are to make sure that it's an equitable playing field across the board. And so I couldn't be in support of this, but unless there is accountability piece that was attached in regards to this current policy change.
Superintendent.
Just fair point. You do know that the Board of Regents urged you to vote yes on this item.
Well, within the letter, it didn't specify their major concern.
Well, no, I can read it to you.
Yeah,
it specified vote yes.
I can comprehend, but at the end of the day, they did urge that, okay, they're in support. However, there's a however. The accountability piece was
but in terms of the vote, they were writing to urge you to vote yes.
No.
Okay. Dr. Beebe.
Okay, and with that said, Superintendent White, that was a representative of the Board of Regents on letterhead. And then again, it is amazing to me that we don't have representatives from that entity as well as I said previously, deans from the colleges of education. I mean, are we in a state where people fear reprisal? I mean, certainly this is an important issue. I find it very important and of great concern. And like I said, I have been struggling with it. And in my conversation with Dr. Voron, he indicated that, the process is in place and, they will proceed to work through the endorsement process, if I understood that correctly, without the passage of this policy today. So I would think that this body would want to ensure that there is collaboration in place and that I'm going to offer a substitute motion to defer the approval of this policy until we get the deans in the room as well as the Board of Regents to hear their take on it. My interpretation of the letter submitted by the representative from the Board of Regents was basically, yes, in support, providing the accountability pieces in place. And I think that's what we've said here today, that we need to be assured that this is just not opening the floodgates and allowing different providers in without having to be assured that we have that. We need to be assured that that accountability piece is in place. So my substitute motion is to defer approval or consideration of this policy until such time as there is a meeting for collaborative purposes with deans of the colleges of education, Board of Regents, and whoever else might want to attend.
Okay. Is there a second? Yes. Ms. Hill.
Moranti.
Okay. Dr. Moranti, second. Are there any, is there any discussion on that item? Yeah.
I mean, first of all, the letter from the Regents did support the item. I want to make that clear. It did point out that accountability was an issue that they had. However, if we want to promote the idea of the collaboration, we ought to let them know the framework exists for such collaboration to occur, and there's a reason to do it. And this just provides a reason for that collaboration to occur and for us to come up with standards. We're not approving anybody today. And if they don't come with the appropriate accountability measures and the collaboration doesn't exist, we don't have to approve it. But by establishing this policy, it does send word out to the groups that need this most, go and work on your policy, go and work on what you want to provide and bring it to us for consideration. So it's kind of a starting point. This is not the ending point, it's a starting point. And we may not approve anyone. But without doing this piece, no one's encouraged to go do that collaboration. So I would oppose the substitute motion.
Okay. Any other discussion on the substitute motion?
Roll call.
Okay. Can we please have a roll call?
Dr. Beebe?
Yes.
Dr. Beebe votes yes. Ms. Bofi?
No.
Ms. Bofi votes no. Ms. Bradford?
No.
Ms. Bradford votes no. Mr. Garvey? No. Mr. Garvey votes no. Mr. Gio?
No.
Mr. Gio votes no. Ms. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Hill votes yes. Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Lee votes yes. Dr. Moranti?
Yes.
Dr. Moranti votes yes. Mr. Romer?
No.
Mr. Romer votes no. Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Orange Jones?
No.
Ms. Orange Jones votes no. Motion fails.
Okay. We're back to the original motion. So we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any other discussion on the initial item? Okay. Are there any objections to the initial item?
I object.
Okay. Dr. Beebe, Ms. Hill, Dr. Moranti. Anyone else? Okay. Motion carries. Next item. I believe that concludes our meeting. The next meeting will begin at
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Thank you.